I will go through all the questions for first 3 quizzes. All right, because many questions we can go relatively fast. All right, but before we do that, let me explain. For the remaining of the semester, we still basically with the syllabus, but I can do a little bit workload reduction as much as I can, for the remaining of the semester. All right. First, so I plan to do several things. All right, so first, this midterm. This midterm, I changed to online. Okay, so only for midterm, not final. Okay, final you need to come to the classroom. So the midterm online, so I give you a few more days. So in this way, you have plenty of time. Okay, so you can manage your time. So basically I put at a weekend. So the weekend around next weekend. Around next weekend, that means weekend plus 2 days. Okay. Friday plus weekend plus Monday. All right. 1 day before weekend, 1 day after weekend, So idea is reduce your pressure. Okay. So you in that way, but final we still, all right. So this change only for midterm. Final. All right. So, okay. Final is still in the classroom. Final, we have 2 hours, right? Longer than our regular class time, 75 minutes. All right. Because we know this is not an online class. This is a regular class, in-person class. So I like you to do just one test face-to-face. Okay. So for the final, all right. So that's the midterm. And second, homework 2. Homework 2, I will give you today. Today is the April 3rd, Monday. The period through next Wednesday. The due date next Wednesday. Okay. And after that, I post the answer explanation. Because after the due date, we won't have any class before the midterm. So I just record a video, explain questions in homework number 2. Okay. All right. So then for the quiz, because right now we are doing quiz number 4, right? We just have one more quiz. One more quiz. All right, so quiz number 5. After the midterm, we just we do quiz number 5 after the midterm. Okay, yeah, so that should be enough. All right. Then number 4, our project. So project, we only do one project. Okay. Project 1, and the project 1 I will do in this way. Yeah, still I try to reduce your coding time, workload. Yeah. All right. So I make this project partially learning process. Okay, learning process. So that means 80% of the features through my video instructions. Okay, video instructions. You just follow my video instructions, learning, yeah, step by step, how to do this step, follow, and I provide you the code for those features. I explain why we do it this way. So you go through that process for your learning, okay? Yeah, but the remaining 20% of the time, features, you need to do it by yourself, okay? Yeah. All right, so you need to write the code, okay? Yeah. Yeah. So after you learn, yeah, so you practice a few features, yeah. So the idea is not too much work, yeah. So I want to control the amount of time you spend on this project. So you need to go through the whole process, yeah, for learning, okay? Yeah, so then practice a little bit, okay? Just, get some hands-on experience, yeah. All right, that's pretty much the amount of work we left for the remaining of the semester, okay? Yeah, yeah. So I try to control, not giving you too much work, yeah, yeah, but just a reasonable amount of work, okay? Yeah. All right, so for this change, so you do not need to make appointment with test center. So all of you, you can plan your work time for this midterm, okay? Yeah, 4 days, because 4 days you try to, manage in a convenient way for you, okay? Yeah, all right. But for the final, you need to make your plan for the final, come to the classroom, okay? Take the regular test, okay? All right, yeah. All right, so any question? So that's pretty much the updates, okay? Yeah. All right, yeah. If no question, let me start the review. Yeah. All right. Basically, I go through all the questions, but some questions very easy. I do not spend much time. Yeah. I go relatively fast. For quiz number 1, 10 questions. The first one, which of the following statement about PHP is correct? Here, I need to check your basic understanding PHP, okay? Client-side scripting language, server-side only, yeah, here, only the server-side program scripting program language, yeah, but not the both side, not the both side. So why here I mentioned this both side, client side and the server side because JavaScript. JavaScript, that's the both side, okay? Yeah, both side. Usually, we use JavaScript client side, but there is a version for the server side. And recently, that version becomes more and more important. JavaScript, yeah. So some of you may heard of that Node.js. That's the server side version. Server side. Okay, yeah. But PHP is different, okay? Completely server side, scripting language, okay? Yeah. Just some simple background, yeah. Okay, all right. And another question, compiled, interpreted, yeah, interpreted. Yeah. So not compiled. So you know the difference. Yeah. Compile, you need to run the compiler first, convert it to machine code. So then you run it, okay? Yeah, but for PHP, there is no compiler, okay? No compiler, yeah. Or no independent compiler available, okay? Yeah, but it has an interpreter. The interpreter converts your code to machine language, and after that, it runs it immediately, okay? Yeah, conversion, then execute it after it, yeah, because you need to do, every time you need to do conversion first, slightly slower than the compiled code. Compiled code because already a machine code. Then later, you only need to run the machine code. So that will be much faster. Yeah. So you do not every time interpretation, then execution, you know. Yeah. So that's the main difference. Yeah. But for the, when we say a scripting programming language, when we use the scripting, usually, you know, that's the interpret way. Yeah. Interpret way, so we call scripting language, okay? Interpret way. Yeah. If a compile way, we do not call it scripting, okay? Yeah, scripting, all right? Yeah, yeah. So usually in scripting way, interpret way, relatively easier, okay? Yeah, so. And for example, JavaScript. So from the name, you can see that script thing, okay? Usually, you are expected to write relatively short code, scripting. So not long code, okay? Relatively short code, yeah, most of the time, short code, yeah. So that's usually the impression that people get from that scripting language, although there is no definition for that, okay? Yeah, so it's not a requirement, but just by the impression, okay? Yeah. All right, next. Detect given file PHP by extension, not by content. Yeah, because by extension is much easier, right? Sorry, much easier. Okay, yeah. If checking the content, too much work. Okay, yeah, slower. Yeah. Extension, just look at a file name, .php, yep, treat it as a PHP file. Otherwise, even if the code inside the file, the code is PHP code, but you do not use the .php extension. The engine, PHP engine, won't process it, because it's a ROM file. Okay, in that way, that at least that step, checking step, that step is very easy, straightforward. All right. Okay. Then IP address for the local host. This one, the special one. So local host. From this name, so it refers to your local machine. Not remote machine. That means this IP address is treated differently from the normal IP addresses. Normal IP addresses. So usually we refer to external IP addresses. So you use those IP addresses to access the internet. The IP address is treated as one point on the internet. It can be accessed by all other machines connected to the internet. Okay, but here this localhost is different. You do not go to the internet. All right, you do not need to connect to the internet. Even your internet is disabled, no internet access, you can still use the localhost. Because it's running on your local machine. So that is quite special. Okay, because if you need to access, you need to go through that DNS, right? Domain name server. Domain name server. Because how do you know? So usually you're given from domain name. Domain name. Because usually people cannot memorize IP address, right? How can you make people memorize IP address? Here, for example, Google.com. So this is a domain name. People can memorize the domain name easily, Amazon.com. And through DNS, then you can get IP address. Let me use capital. People can get IP address. Okay, So then the DNS send IP address back to you. Then you use that IP address to reach the server. Because the server can only be reached by the real IP address, not domain name directly. Domain name, you need to request it from DNS, send a request to DNS. So the DNS will return that real IP address to you. So then you use that real IP address, you can reach that Google.com, Amazon.com, all those servers on the internet. Okay, so that's the basic way so people access the internet. But here, this local host on your local machine. Okay, so with this basic thing, so even the internet networking service is not there, you use localhost, you can still develop your project on the localhost, right? You do not rely on the internet. Okay, so you can at least make development, do the development, without any problem on your local machine. Okay, all right, so that's some basic background thing. Question number 5. Is it possible a keyword? Yeah, so yes, because remember I talk about, because usually the SQL keywords, many keywords, large number of keywords. I do not have an idea on how many, hundreds of, I don't know if there are thousands of, yeah, at least hundreds of, okay, at least hundreds of, yeah. That big number, so nobody can memorize, yeah. Well, in the business world, sometimes we have to use specific names. We do not want to get around it, those special words. Yeah. In that one, SQL provides you a special way to solve that problem using the backtick, right? Yeah. Another single quotes, yeah, backtick. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so then your keyword. Any keyword inside, not treated as the normal keyword. Yeah. It is treated as a literal string. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then you don't need to worry about it. Okay. Just when you design your tables, only consider the business requirements. You do not need to worry about conflict with the SQL. Okay. Yeah. Otherwise, it's not very convenient. Think about it. Otherwise, in order to get around large number of SQL keywords, so it's not very convenient. Okay. All right. No SQL simple structure. Yeah, here you need to know the background. So why? Yeah, because complex structure, we know the SQL use the complex structure. Complex structure with many tables. Yeah. Tables, basically data format, describe it in tables, that's complex. Okay? Because you can design some very complicated tables. Could be very complicated. Okay? Yeah. And if you still want to use complex structure, why you create a new type of databases? You just use the old SQL, you can represent complex data structures. Okay? You don't need a new type of databases. Yeah. So the NoSQL one, the new one, the simple structure, basically we know that's just the key value pair. Yeah. Data is described by this kind of implicit. Yeah. We don't need any description on it. Implicit key value pairs. Okay, so this structure, no description. No description, that means no metadata. Okay, we know the metadata, that's the description. No metadata. Okay, no description needed. Okay, yeah. The reason we know this way for fast search operation. For fast search operation. Okay. Yeah. Why? Yeah. Why? Yeah. Because we do not need to do indexing. Yeah. Yeah. And this complex way, you need to do some very slow, expensive indexing process. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's this background. Yeah. Is it possible to store necessary information about the image? Right. Yeah. So this is also another useful way. Yeah. because we know the multimedia data here, I just use the image data for any multimedia. We know it is binary data, okay? The binary data, usually people feel you may need to store in the database, yeah, but it's not, okay? Although the DBMS supports storing the binary format, okay, yeah. But most of the time, people do not in that way because not convenient. Not convenient. Only when you have a really good reason, then you can do that. Okay, yeah. So you need to think about, do you have any special reason to do in that way? If not, then we store the binary data on hard drive directly. Then URL, the path, URLs, that's the text location. URLs, then in our tables. So that would be very convenient. Yeah. First, the good thing is data amount is reduced greatly, right? Yeah. Usually we know the binary data is huge, very big, okay? Yeah. But the URL is very short. Yeah. Okay. In that way, your database, the data part, the primary data part of your database could be controlled very small. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But still, you need to carry, you need to copy if you want to transfer your business data. So you need to keep a copy of your binary data. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But at least, yeah, this way we can manage our multimedia data in a friendly way. Okay. Yeah. All right. When we write our SQL queries, are we required to use uppercase? Yeah. So no. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So here, yeah, I need to give you the answer, although I talk about that without starting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. All right. So here, uppercase required. All right. The thing is, it's no, not required. Yeah. And recommended to do in that way. Yeah. But you can see some people use the lowercase. So when you study the examples on web, many people actually they use lowercase on the keywords. So not strange. Yeah. Quite some people still use the lower cases. All right. So the reason mainly for one convention of the community. Okay. Yeah. So that's the better way, recommended, not required by convention. Okay. Second, for readability. Yeah. Make you aware of these are the keywords, SQL keywords. Okay. Yeah. So you should treat them differently from the remaining part. Remaining basically the data part. Okay. And the table names and the field names. You treat the keywords part different from table names, field names, and the data, the real data part. Yeah. Okay. All right. All the database mesh system rely on some database servers. Yeah. So here, I mentioned this a little bit in class, but many students, they do not have strong impression on this one. So here I'm talking about embedded databases. There is one version, embedded databases. embedded databases use database engines to power the databases. The engines running locally, okay, not remotely. Okay, database servers usually we expect running remotely, so you can use IP address to access. So you have the specific location to reach that database server. But for a database engine running locally on your current machine, but here, what's the point using the embedded? So embedded data usually is small. The size much smaller than the usual big DBMS. Usually big DBMs, we know the software size is really big, okay? At least hundreds of megabytes, okay? Usually less than 1 gigabyte, hundreds of megabytes, 100, 100 something, megabytes. But for an embedded database, usually less than 1 megabyte. How small it is. The whole database engine, everything you need, less than 1 megabyte. Small, sometimes people call small signature, okay? Small signature, because you can include in small devices, small electronic devices. If you want to include embedded database, that's good. In a cell phone, okay, you can develop an app using embedded database in a cell phone, okay? Because think about, sometimes you need your little app doing a lot of database queries, okay? For some advanced features, but you do not require your users rely on the internet connection, okay? Even the internet is not available, your apps can still work normally, right? In that situation, if you have that kind of business requirement, it's a good situation to use the embedded database. So with this small size, database size, but it can support the main features of database queries. But not advanced, complex query, too complex. So for the usual queries, already enough. Okay, so the database engine can do a lot of things. So in our everyday life, relatively simple queries, so you do not need to worry about. It is powerful enough to handle those queries. All right. So here I mentioned that, because most people may not need to use that, but in case you need to use that kind of DBMS, then it's a good option for you, okay? Embedded, For Java, there are many versions embedded DBMS in Java, For non-Java, so I do not know non-Java, but I know for the Java, there are several embedded DBMS you can use. All right, so just this background knowledge could be useful for you, okay? All right. When we connect to the local host to run some web application, do we require internet connection? No, as just mentioned, because You do not even need to go outside your machine. Okay, localhost, then your networking device won't send a request to outside environment, just still in your own machine. Yeah, so you can, it can find the server on your local machine. Okay, yeah, localhost. Yeah. All right, and in this way, yeah, think about, yeah, this way could be useful. Think about if you only want to develop web application used by yourself, okay, or by your home business. Okay, yeah, because you have an internal system. Okay, yeah, you want to manage some important data for your home business. Okay. You do not want outside world to access. You don't want to expose to the outside world. Okay, yeah, for security reason, you want to keep it in your local system. You disconnect in order to protect your sensitive data. You disconnect from the internet. Okay, yeah, you just use local host. You can run your system, right? It's a web application. It's a regular version of web application, but you just run it on your local host. How about that? Okay, yeah, for your own system. Okay, yeah, only used by yourself. Okay, yeah, so think about that's good option. Yeah, but your business part, if you want to reach your customers, then you do in a usual regular version. Okay, yeah, so through the external IP address, so your customers can reach your server and do the business with you. Okay, yeah. All right, yeah, that's quiz number 1. Number 2, the first question, when we have a database transaction that is formed by sequence of queries, allow execute partially, no, yeah, because that's the most important property. Okay, we call it atomicity property. Atomicity property. You cannot split. You have to take it as a whole or none. Okay, yeah, you only have 2 options. Okay, the whole option, the whole block. Okay, yeah, the whole block. Okay, or none. Yeah, two options. Yeah, no partial option. Okay, yeah. So that's the important property for transactions. Yeah. All right. Which of the following statement about store procedure in DBMS is correct? A store procedure can only be called locally, only be called remotely, both ways. Yeah. Locally, we know from DBMS. We install it into a DBMS, so then we just access from DBMS directly. Okay, remotely from application programs. Okay, yeah, so we use Java, PHP, C#. We can access. We know how to access remote database, right? The database, suppose there is a database server, so IP address, right? So the URL for the remote database. So we access remote database server through that URL. Yeah. Then after we establish connection, then we just run the SQL command. Call that procedure name. Call, we treat that as a SQL command. Okay, yeah. So then you can run stored procedures remotely. Yeah. Actually, most of the time in our web applications, we do in that way. Yeah, that remote way, most of the time. Yeah, very convenient. Yeah. All right. Yeah. After the midterm, I try to find some examples for stored procedures. Just let you see, let you feel about it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Just give you some more impression on stored procedures. Yeah. So you just look at the coding, SQL, real code. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Does a database schema contains the business data? No. Yeah. Because database schema, that's the definition part. We know only the definition part. Okay, yeah. And we call, that's the metadata. Metadata. We also call secondary data, not primary data. Okay, yeah. Business data, we call the primary data. Okay. All right. Since the data redundancy problem, waste, storage space, yes, that's the expense we need for the redundancy, yeah, and may cause inconsistent data. Yes, we need to consider that problem. Yeah, yeah. These two problems. Okay, yeah. All right. There is no reason. Yeah, it looks like that's the natural logical reasoning. Yeah, but actually it's not. Yeah, actually it's not. Okay, no reason to allow any data. The question, yeah, because even with those drawbacks, those are the drawbacks, but we just take it. Okay, yeah, because we have some more important reason to adopt control the redundancy. So we call it control the redundancy. Yeah, mainly for performance reason. The main reason to use that, performance reason. Yeah. With controlled redundancy, we can make our queries faster. Yeah. With redundant data, we can make our performance faster. Why? I remember I spent a lot of time in class to explain a few typical situations. Yeah. Derived data, right? Yeah. Some complex derived data. You may need some very complicated algorithms to generate the derived data. That generation process could take a long time, right? Long time. Yeah. But you don't want to repeat it. Yeah. After you generate that part of data, you don't want to repeat it. Time consuming. Okay. So you want to store it physically, store that data physically. Then you can reuse the derived data without spending too much time. Yeah. So that's the biggest reason. And there are some other reasons. Okay. There's some other reasons. Yeah. Control the dependency. All right. Number 5, all the data integrity constraints, all, the problem is that this all can be enforced by the modern RDBMS automatically. It's a false. The reason is only those simple integrity constraints can be enforced. If not simple, no, simple, the DBMS is not that smart, okay? DBMS does not know your business requirements. If the constraints, integrity constraints, closely related to your business requirements, then you, programmers, business people, and programmers, you have the responsibility to ensure the data integrity constraints. You may need to write a code to do that because you want an automatic way, right? You do not want a manual way. You want an automatic way. So you may need to use store procedures here. So that's a, special situation that you may need to use stored procedures. Yeah. Every time when you need to enforce certain complex integrity constraints, you may need to call certain stored procedures to do the checking. Yeah. Checking certain business rules, relatively complex business rules. Okay, yeah. Yeah. DBMS cannot do that. It's not that smart. Okay, no. Yeah. Because the current DBMS, we do not expect any AI features. Okay, so no AI features. Yeah. The future, we don't know. Okay, the future probably the developers, the vendors of the DBMS, they could add AI features. Okay, so much more powerful. Yeah. Which of the following is the main purpose for the data denormalization? Yeah. So the main improve the performance. The performance is the biggest concern here. Yeah. Okay. Denormalization. Yeah. But to do that, there is some cost. Yeah. You need to do some more work to cover that cost. Data integrity cost, storage cost relatively small. Yeah. So that part, I think you do not worry about that. Yeah. Just a little more extra storage space. Yeah. Very cheap. Yeah. But the data integrity part, more important. You may need to write the code. You may need to use the stored procedure to do that part. Okay, yeah, here. So you can see, yeah. When you have some complex business rules to check, you may need to write stored procedures. Okay, yeah. Is it possible application program? Yes. Yeah. Yes, because in that way, you can do it in your application programs to make your life much easier. Okay, yeah, through SQL commands. Because you can run SQL commands in your application programs. Yeah. You can execute SQL commands in your application programs. Then we know stored procedures are formed by SQL statements. We just execute statement by statement in our application programs. Then we can create a stored procedure. Okay, yeah, that's simple. It is impossible to store virtual physically, but that's false. Virtual data, we know views, right? And there is an option to store it physically. Although most of the time we do not store views physically, okay, yeah. But for some special situations, we may need to store views physically. Okay, yeah, yeah. So if you want to do that, if you can have a good argument on that, then you can do it. Yeah, you have that option. Okay. All right. Default port number 80. 80. Okay. Yeah. So with that default HTTP port number, you do not need to use the colon. Okay. Yeah. So domain name, colon, port. The format is like this. Format to access remote server, colon port. Okay, yeah. But if the port is that default 80, you can omit it. You can omit it. Okay, yeah. Yeah. And for the users, for the ordinary users, you do not want your users to memorize port number, right? Not convenient. Yeah. So for ordinary users, you just use the default HTTP port number. So then nobody needs to specify the port number. But we know each port number, you can only run one service through that port number. If one service already occupies that port number, no other services can use the same port number because it's a conflict. Yeah. Then your database, if you use the same machine to run a database server, for example, the MySQL, okay? Yeah. So for the MySQL URL, URL to access the database server, you need to, usually people do not use the default. Yeah. You have to use MySQL's non-default port number, yeah, but usually, yeah, so that is the original. Yeah. Yeah. People can change the port number. Yeah. So that's the, default MySQL port number, not default HTTP here. So here I say default HTTP port number, that is the 80. So this is the default MySQL port number. Default MySQL port number. Okay, yeah. All right. Since the SQL language industry standard, any statement can be executed by all. It's false. I give you a few examples. And the reason is the extension part, because the standard part, SQL, there is standard part plus extension part. Extension part different for different DBMS. Yeah, I give you several examples. So that's special for MySQL. Now, here, let me give you three here. The first one, limit keyword. Limit keyword. When you use that select statement, you have large number of rows, right? But you only want to take part of it. So you use the limit keyword, for example, limit after that select statement, limit 5,20. Okay, 5 start from line number 5. Okay, comma, you only take 10 rows. That's the simple way you use it. Oh, yeah, we run out of time. Yeah, all right. After I finish this one, yeah, we run out of time. Yeah, all right. Second, length function. Length. TH. Length function, also special in MySQL. Third one, auto increment. The primary key, the auto increment feature. Yeah. I mentioned these three features special for MySQL. For other DBMs, usually you do not have these features. Okay, yeah. Just some examples. Yeah. All right, yeah, let me stop.